the tech stallions aside, we cannot ignore this question we've been trying to answer for months now. Do markets really care about the threat of a trade war? And what about corporate America? Is corporate America feeling the heat yet? Well, there turns out that there's been a major uptick in tariff talks in the second quarter, according to Bespoke Investment Group. When I say tariff talks, I'm talking about chatter from companies. Bespoke ran an analysis of all the S&P 500 earnings calls so far, and what they wanted to do is they screened it for the word tariff. The word tariff has been mentioned 609 times this quarter. That's up from 290 mentions in the first quarter. But Bespoke also points out that if you were to look at the VIX index, the volatility or fear index, since the tariffs were announced, it's been relatively muted, signaling that markets are not as frightened about these trade war tensions. So whom should we believe, corporate America or the markets? To the floor show. Sarge, you get to take this one first.
Well, I mean, you've heard me all along. I haven't been very afraid of these trade wars from the beginning. Now, certain swaths of the economy obviously are going to feel the impacts, and input costs are rising. And only one of the input costs that is actually a threat is due to these tariffs. Now, we take away these tariffs, we probably get an upside swing to the market. We're seeing it from NASDAQ today because of all the nice tech stocks. Facebook finally got a bottom. Apple's popping. Tesla's popping. So that's where you're seeing the strength today. But the industrials are still a little bit of a problem. We're seeing some strength in the small caps for the same reason. No, the market is not generally all that afraid of the tariffs. And the tariffs by themselves can't force the economy into recession. We need a few more nasty things to happen to get there.
Yeah, I think so. But there have been individual stock names, Phil, that have gotten hurt depending on the moment. You know, Harley is an obvious one. They have been very outspoken about what might happen. General Motors, Ford, a bunch of these names out there. But these are sort of singular stories for now.
Yeah, I think it's going to continue to be that way. And you know, the tariff fear talk, it is going to hurt individual companies. But what I'm seeing, Liz, China is getting hurt a lot worse by these tariffs than the U.S. is. The U.S. economy, of course, is a much bigger economy, much more diversified, and it's the Chinese company that are feeling the heat. And I think that's why President Trump is saying, hey, guys, if you don't like what we're offering on tariffs right now, we can double it right now. And I think that President Trump is signaling he's in the driver's seat. I think the markets agree with him. I'd listen to the markets, not to the CEOs.
Well, I'm glad you just mentioned how China's getting hurt. You know, the Shanghai index fell 2%. And by the way, I mean, it has taken a real hit since all of this began. It's down about 21% since the tariff war began. And so, Alan, the Hang Seng in Hong Kong, same thing. What do you expect here? Because the markets seem to be shrugging this off.
Yeah, when you talk about the analyst calls, I think a lot of that is CYA. They're just covering themselves in case, but they mention a lot of mentions, so the market's already factored that in. That's why we are where we are. Let's look at, you talked about the VIX and how important that is as a gauge. The markets are often right. We had a fake out breakout today in the VIX. The VIX has been trading between 12 and 14 for more than 3 weeks. Broke out, got up to 1450, but now it's all the way back down to 1250 and pricing the lower end of that range. Let's remember, we're 75% off the February highs at $50 in the VIX. So the market's not reflecting that same level of fear, and the fundamentals are taking over right now.
Even as President Trump ramps up all kinds of threats. So I think that's a perfect point, and the VIX really articulates that. Sarge, Phil, Alan, great to see you guys. Thank you so much. It's not all about China, though, when it comes to trade. Closing bell ringing in 48 minutes. Dow is down 24 points. We have breaking details just coming in on the